Hey, how's it going, YouTube? I'm back in the video, and today I'm going to be talking about how Bol Bol will make the Denver Nuggets legit finals contenders. Now, a little bit before I do get in this video, one thing, I know I haven't uploaded in like 10 days, and that's the longest I went without uploading in probably the 3 years this channel's existed. That's because I was on a vacation with some of my friends, you know, chilling, and I try to get out some content like in the community tab thing, but I know that's not the same, and I'm so sorry for not uploading for 10 days. I didn't like it either, but I am back, trust me. And also, don't think I'm just jumping on the Bol Bol hype train right now. I've been supporting this guy from pretty much ever since he was drafted so late in the second round. I was saying how he was a steal of the draft, how he's a beast, all that in videos of months before all this even went down, months before the coronavirus was even a thing, probably even before this season even started. So don't call me a bandwagon on this Bol Bol hype train. I've been on it since he was drafted into the NBA. So yeah, with all that out of the way, let's get right into this video. The first thing we're talking about is going to be the scrimmages themselves, and obviously this is why most people are starting to talk about Bol Bol and really see him as being a potential legit NBA star in the future. And I mean, the scrimmages he has very, very good. So far, he's been in 2 scrimmages where he has put up 16 points, 10 rebounds, and 6 blocks in his first game. And then against the Pelicans, although they did lose, he still put up 15 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 blocks. So in those scrimmages, although only being 2 games, in his first technical NBA action, he was able to still show elite shot blocking ability, elite scoring ability. He was still hitting some 3-pointers. His rebounding ability in one game was elite, and he was still able to get a few rebounds. And then in the second game, he showed off his ball movement and his court awareness and court vision altogether. For someone as big as he is, to be able to get assists is going to be huge for them, because if you can get 2 players, Bol Bol and Nikola Jokic, 2 highly skilled big men with the ball in their hands, I mean, that's going to be very hard to stop, and not many teams have the size or talent at that size to be able to stop people like Bol Bol and Nikola Jokic. So in these scrimmages, he showed all the potential when he was hyped up to be a potential lottery pick. Now, if y'all don't know the story behind Bol Bol, he went from being a top lottery pick to getting picked late in the second round due to an injury. So yeah, that's why he's such a big deal and such a cool thing to look at. And in my opinion, Bol Bol is just a complete like unicorn of a player. He's like Porzingis, but a little bit better. He can handle the ball extremely well for someone his size. He's pretty quick for someone his size. He can shoot very well for somebody his size. He's still good in the paint. He can protect the paint very good, even though he's not that strong, which I'm sure he will get stronger going into the future as his career goes. Every player does. So, I mean, really his strength and injury problems are the 2 biggest lacks of his game, but he's extremely talented with the ball in his hand, and which is very, very surprising to see somebody with his type of build and with his height that he does have. So he is one of those unicorn type players that have the potential to completely break the NBA if he does hit his full potential. But now, how will Bol Bol actually make them contenders? So we just saw what he could do in those scrimmages, but how can Bol Bol be able to be that piece that pushes over the Denver Nuggets and makes them into contenders? Well, although that gimmicky lineup of Bol Bol, Nikola Jokic, Mason Plumlee, Jeremy Grant, and Paul Millsap will not be the lineup they roll out going into the playoffs or even when the regular season resumes. Yes, it was cool, but let's be honest, they're not benching Jamal Murray and Garry Harris and all of them. They're just not. They're too talented to have coming off your bench, and there's just no point. And that big man lineup was interesting to watch, but they did show flaws like lots of turnovers, lack of scoring. Lots of things started to show out when they had that big man lineup in. But they don't need to have that lineup. They can make a variation of that lineup that consists of Jamal Murray, Garry Harris, Paul Millsap, Nikola Jokic, and Bol Bol, which is still a very big lineup, as Paul Millsap will be running the 3, Jokic could be running center or power forward, or Bol Bol could run center or power forward, or they could both just run center and have 2 centers on the court, which will most likely be what they would do. So I mean, that lineup is still extremely big and will be extremely to deal with in any other team, especially if you're a team like the Rockets, who legitimately don't have a center on their roster, and if they do, he's just not that good of a center that can be able to deal with even Nikola Jokic due to how good he is. So I mean, it's going to be very, very hard to deal with a lineup even that big, as in this lineup will actually be much more effective than that all bigs lineup that they were running, because now this is going to take less pressure off of Nikola Jokic, because he won't have to handle the ball. He won't be a point guard like he has been in these scrimmages. They have an elite point guard in Jamal Murray, who is a borderline all-star level player, Garry Harris, who's a lockdown defender on the perimeter, which they do need with having this big of a lineup, and he is one of the best lockdown defenders in the NBA, and he can score if he's on fire. Now, yes, his scoring has been struggling lately, but he can still score a little bit when he is on fire. And then Paul Millsap, he is athletic enough and fast enough to guard some small forwards. Now, yes, it might be a little bit of a mismatch for some, but I mean, you could still always sub in, I'm pretty sure they have Jeremy Grant. You can always sub in like him at the small forward instead of Paul Millsap and take Paul Millsap off your bench. And then Nikola Jokic, obviously we know how good he is. He's maybe the best center in the NBA and is already unguardable. And if you add Bol Bol, and Bol Bol is as good as he's been advertised in these two scrimmages and as good as I think he is, that's going to take so much pressure off of Bol Bol, because now teams can't only focus on Jokic down low. Now you have to worry about another 7'4" guy in the paint, which is just going to make things so much harder for any team to be able to deal with them, because Nikola Jokic, like I said earlier, is just already dominant by himself. And then you add Bol Bol to that, and now you're just not going to know what to do, because now do you put your best center on Bol Bol, or do you put your best center on Nikola Jokic? Because if you let Nikola Jokic go to work, well, he's going to kill you. And if you let Bol Bol to go to work, well, he's also going to kill you. And now the biggest problem is you cannot put a slow, normal center like Clint Capella or Steven Adams on him, because they're both so good with the ball and can dribble so good, especially Bol Bol, who's actually quick with the ball. He's going to be able to beat most centers off of the perimeter, so you're going to have to put a power forward on him. But the problem with that is if he gets stronger and his strength does get higher, which most rookies do get stronger as their careers go on, now he's going to have a huge size mismatch with any power forward that guards him, and he's going to be able to dominate in the paint. So Bol Bol could cause so many matchup issues for teams if he does reach his potential. It's just going to be unreal, because this team, like I said, Jamal Murray is already one of the top point guards in the league. Gary Harris can be a top shooting guard if he can get back to his scoring ways. Nikola Jokic is already debatably the best center in the league. Bol Bol, if he reaches his potential, could also be a top 15 center in the NBA one day. If they can get a small forward or just a decent person like Paul, well, they already have one. Jeremy Grant's already decent. Well, I mean, this team could legitimately be a finals contender and give a lot of teams runs for their money in the playoffs, just even this season and even next season when Bol Bol develops even more and his chemistry also develops. So it's going to be extremely interesting to see how good this team could be once Bol Bol gets fully inserted into this team and into their lineup every given night. And now my third reason is going to be that he fits their timeline very, very nicely. Now what I mean by this is that the Nuggets are a very young team. Jamal Murray is young, Gary Harris is young, Nikola Jokic, although being dominant, is still pretty young. So Bol Bol is also being young. It fits the timeline perfectly with players like Michael Porter Jr. and all their young talent, which means they're going to be able to develop alongside each one another very, very nicely. And if the Nuggets play their cards right, if they don't play Michael Porter Jr. or he doesn't have a breakout year, they might be able to sign him for a little bit of a discount contract. And a Bol Bol, he might not be a max player. I don't think he's going to become a max player at the end of his rookie contract. Maybe they can sign him to a little bit of a discount contract to help their cap situation out a lot, because they're going to have to dish out maxes to people like Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic if they haven't already. I'm not sure what their cap situation looks like, but they might be able to sneak in Bol Bol and Michael Porter Jr. right before they can really have their breakout seasons and have them on discounted contracts, which would be huge going forward for this team financially and helping them develop even more. So this team potentially could be one of the most scary ones in the NBA. Because now just imagine about 4 years down the line, 3 years down the line, Bol Bol's stronger, he's starting to really grow, and he's just been developing every year. Michael Porter Jr. is now developed. Now they can roll out a starting lineup of Jamal Murray, Gary Harris, Michael Porter Jr., Bol Bol, and Nikola Jokic. If Michael Porter Jr. is half of what they thought he was going to be coming out of college, he could be he could already be one of the best players in the NBA at that small forward position if he develops like he was supposed to coming out of college. Now, yes, he struggled a little bit, but he's also shown tons of promise as well in the games that he's played. So if he can keep showing that promise and keep developing, there's nothing showing me right now that he won't keep developing. If Bol Bol can develop halfway what he was supposed to be coming out of college, now they have a top power forward in that position. They already have a top point guard and center, and Gary Harris Harris is a very, very good perimeter defensive shooting guard, and you don't need stars at every position. That is a finals contending roster if this team develops how it should develop, and I think it will. So guys, unfortunately guys, that's gonna be for this video. So comment below, do you agree with me? Do you think the Nuggets could potentially be a super team if Bol Bol is able to develop along with Michael Porter Jr., of course? Do you think, how far do you think they're gonna go this year? I wanna hear our thoughts in the comment section below. How good do you think Bol Bol will be? Comment all that below. And like I said, that's gonna be for this video. So I hope you have a blessed day. Can I have a blessed day? So you need to have a blessed day. See you in the next video. Goodbye. Boo. Blah.